Hello, everybody. Today I am bringing you the losers final game between EXE, the red core commander here in the bottom left, going vehicle first, and his opponent Rampage, the blue arm commander, going aircraft plant first. And yeah, Rampage in this game kind of showing his hand a little bit by sending the scout into EXE's base. That will essentially tip off EXE that a bomber is most likely coming, and indeed it will be. Let's see, is he still working on it? Yes, that bomber has just finished. And so, yeah, Rampage going to send that bomber on to EXE's base. It might take a little bit, but what does EXE have here? He does have a single slasher and a single pulverizer. Will that be enough to stop this bomber from doing some serious economic damage? We'll have to see. He does now have two slashers. Wow, still some great bombing there. Rampage managing to get at least 4 metal extractors, even though EXE was prepared, even though he had built some air defense in advance. That bomber going to kill quite a few metal extractors and live to tell the tale. Very well done, I would say, by Rampage. Bombers very hard to stop in the hands of very experienced players. So, yeah, I don't think that will put EXE too far behind, though. He does have quite a few construction vehicles already retaking those lost metal spots. And, of course, given that Rampage did go air first, it will slow his ability to take his own island. Of course, construction vehicles much faster and much more efficient for taking over all these metal spots than our aircraft constructors. As you can see, construction aircraft are fast, but they build really slowly, and because of that, it will lead to a kind of situation where, unfortunately, starting air will kind of put you behind usually in terms of your ability to get that economic lead over your opponent, take over the map. Construction vehicles certainly much more efficient for that purpose. So even though Rampage did do that successful early bombing run, both players now on about 25, 26 metal apiece per second, and the game, I think, will continue on as normal. This map is clear blue water. I have not casted it before. This is this map is actually exclusive to the finals, I think, and so we haven't seen it before in the tournament. But Dirty Harry created this map, and it is quite large. Just it reminds me a bit of Shore to Shore. You have two islands separated by a large body of water, with bits of land here and there. Certainly there's plenty of metal in the middle here. Lots of juicy underwater spots, and some geo spots as well on these little islands dotting the sea here. And we'll have to see how the players want to handle this, because hovercraft is an option and ships are an option, and EXE deciding to go both. Why only choose one when you can do both? But in the meantime, Rampage, much more single-minded. He has just gone straight into shipyards. As I've said in previous casts, generally speaking, when it comes to ships versus hovercraft, ships will be the victor in that situation, because they're just more powerful. They can only traverse the water. They only do one thing, and so they have to do that one thing very well, where hovercrafts, having more of a hybrid nature, are not as strong in the sea as our ships, but can still win if microed correctly and if in sufficient numbers. So a lot of that will come down to how the players use their respective ships and hovercrafts. Air is also almost certainly going to play a huge role in this match because on huge maps like this, with a large distance between the two players, air can close that distance and establish a certain amount of map control and air superiority, which can give you a huge advantage. But at the moment, it does look like both players just kind of having little wars of scout ships, these skeeters and searchers. It does look like Rampage has also built some vanguards here, the escort frigates. These will be quite a bit stronger than the T1 scout ships, so as I've said in previous casts, it's kind of the next upgrade to that. And in the north, EXE bringing a few scrubbers to get some harassment done. We'll have to see what he can do here. There's not a ton of defense. There is a single defender. Can he get anything done? These freedom fighters of Rampage, it does look like, will clean that up. And here in the middle, a bigger sea battle is brewing. We've got an army of vanguards versus an army of Vikings and salamanders. If those salamanders can get into range, they should be quite effective against anything that their flamethrowers can melt down into a pool of metal. But yeah, certainly EXE in a dominant position here in the sea. And we will have to see how Rampage responds to that. He could go submarines. We've seen in previous games submarines being very effective in these sea battles. Crusaders would also be good. Getting on destroyer tech would certainly put him ahead. In the meantime, there's a bit of harassment going on here. A bit of an air battle, it looks like, between Avengers and Freedom Fighters. And yeah, Rampage deciding to bogey on out of there with his remaining Freedom Fighters. He has built these Crusaders that I was mentioning before. And Rampage also going up to Advanced Shipyard. I do love me some higher tier sea battles. It is one of the most enjoyable things to watch, I think, in Total Annihilation. So I'm very excited to see what Rampage wants to do with this T3 shipyard, T2 shipyard that he has just completed. But in the meantime, he does have a quite formidable force of vanguards and crusaders. These crusaders are going to make all the difference. They are a huge, huge step up from the escort frigates. They will do quite a bit of damage to these, and in an AoE, so they will be able to take these escort frigates out in mass. And here I think we're going to start to see why Rampage going sea exclusively, he has now 4 shipyards, 3 regular and 2 advanced, is going to begin to give him an advantage in this war happening on the water. I do think, as I said before, ships tend to perform better than hovercraft in direct combat, but he does have some hovercraft as well. And now working on archers. This is the T2 anti-air frigate, and these are quite effective against air. They are absolutely destruction to anything that flies within their range, and you can kind of see that now. EXE doing his best to avoid those archers and get some bombing done. He takes out a construction ship there, takes out a few more. But yeah, this archer will absolutely clean it up. As I said, archers are scary. They are just scary against air. their flak cannons will rip, shred, tear, and choose your alliteration through any aircraft that walks or flies into their quite considerable range. They are very effective against air, and so yeah, definitely Rampage wanting to get control of the skies, wanting to protect this quite formidable fleet of vanguards and destroyers that he has moving through the south part of the map. And yeah, as we can see, a few gunships flying over and paying the ultimate price for that folly. They will die. EXC bringing down hovercraft, but as I mentioned before, these hovercraft just really cannot stand up to the might of a dedicated naval armada, and this naval armada is going to do some work here. It does look like EXE, just having finished his shipyard, is now going to lose it, and he's probably going to lose everything else. Let's see what's going on under the water here. We do have some submarines there, but yeah, EXE bowing out. And very interesting game, but I think what that really boiled down to was that Rampage dedicated his production more to just going straight into a naval force. He had almost exclusively in that composition vanguards, crusaders, and then some T2 anti-airships, the archers. And the thing is, where EXE was going more of a hybrid of hovercraft and ships, that's just not going to work as well. I mean, generally speaking, the player who dedicates their naval fleet exclusively to ships is going to have that big advantage, and certainly we saw that in this game. Rampage building an unstoppable force, unstoppable fleet, and EXE ultimately losing the sea battle. The game wasn't technically over yet because his entire land structure was still intact. He could have potentially come back, but certainly Rampage was far and away in the lead there. So great game one, and this is best of 7, so that does mean Rampage will be 1 game up. He needs to win 4. Either player needs to win 4 to advance to win the 3rd place and claim their juicy money that they have earned by participating in this tournament. So, great game. Let's move on to game 2. Okay, this is game 2 of the Losers Finals, the 3rd, 4th place series between Rampage, here in the bottom left, the ARM Commander, going vehicle first, and in the top right, the red Corps Commander going vehicle first is EXE. And great game 1 between these two. I always love to cast sea battles, and Rampage certainly playing that particular map out, I would say, better, doing a great job of utilizing the naval option to its fullest effect. But in this game, we don't really have much water, just almost a little bit for aesthetics, I would say, but overall probably not going to come into play much. This map, a Corruption XL2, is kind of a play on the Corruption map, which we've actually cast before in a friendlies match. I believe it was between EXE and was it Rampage? Yeah, I think it was. So there was a friendlies match that we cast on this map that went on for over 2 hours. I mean, not on this map, but on the original Corruption that was much more closed off. This version of Corruption, a little more open. The middle certainly having a smaller surface area than the rest of the map, and you do have these ridges, but overall, it's a pretty flat map. EXE bringing in a Weasel to try to get some harassment done. He does take out this metal extractor, but he will be promptly cleaned up by this waiting defender. So, yeah, as I said, this is a best of 4, and Rampage is 1 game ahead so far. But we will have to see if EXE can come back and claim his throne. EXE loving to go air early on. He has very good bomber control, as we've seen in previous games. And so we will have to find out how he can use that bomber control in this game to get a leg up over his opponent Rampage. Here at the beginning, both players just kind of spamming out Jeffies and Weasels. The early game vehicle scouts. Nothing too out of the ordinary there, and it doesn't seem like the players are going to get too much accomplished either. EXE getting a metal extractor here or there, but nothing too devastating so far. The players do begin the game on relatively even economies, but this first bombing run could change that depending on EXE's control. EXE now going into a second vehicle plant, and so for the foreseeable future, it does seem like he wants to put that ground-based pressure on, but his opponent on 3 vehicle plants is going to most likely be able to more than match that pressure with no doubt an army of flashes. Here comes that bomber. Here we go. This shadow should be able to get something done. Let's see. Rampage does have a few defenders down here, so he's not totally unprepared for EXE's shenanigans, which at this point shouldn't surprise anybody, I would say. But EXE doing a great job there by taking out that defender. And I'm surprised he has been able to do this much with just Weasels. Certainly it seems as though he's kind of caught Rampage with his pants down a little bit. I don't know where Rampage's scouts went. He may have sent them all north. But certainly EXE found a hole in Rampage's defenses and exploits this. And now this bomber finally making its way into Rampage's economy here, taking out 3 metal extractors. 4. He's doing some pretty good line bombing here. 5. Yeah, great bombing here by EXE. He is absolutely shredded Rampage's economy. Rampage now at about half the metal production of his opponent. That never feels too good. And Rampage now attempting a counterattack with flashes. But these flashes are going to run into a wall of LLTs here and promptly be taken out. Also, they're running into a line of gators as well. It does look like EXE was prepared, and certainly he is now, I would say, in the lead a little bit, having a metal advantage, and now moving these gators down into the south. But there are some waiting light laser towers of his own. Rampage pretty prepared for this. He will most likely clean up these gators without too much being accomplished. EXE taking out a metal extractor here or there. These defenders not as good against instigators. They are pretty effective against lone scouts, but certainly against those main battle tanks, these skirmish tanks. Of course, they are going to struggle. The light laser towers are much better against those, and sentinels as well can work pretty well, especially if protected by walls of dragon's teeth. So here in the right, it does look like he has a light laser tower to clean up that lone instigator that does swing by. And now EXE bringing in some levelers. Levelers specifically designed, they're called riot tanks, to take out these flashes en masse. They should have no problem chewing through entire armies of flashes, as if as if those flashes were nothing. So yeah, here we might get to witness that firsthand. These levelers, very effective, though they were pretty low health before that engagement happened. And now EXE bringing in some raiders as well. Raiders are the medium battle tank. They are quite a bit, I would say, stronger than flashes or instigators, but they are quite a bit more expensive as well. They have a small AoE attack, and they are good to mix in, I think. But overall, it does seem like EXE has advanced to T2 more quickly and is now on Reapers. And Reapers are the heavy riot tanks, so they're, in a way, the upgrade to the leveler. These are going to be even more effective against this army of flashes. And I have to say, Rampage also on T2, building these spots, which are just a kind of a fast-moving constructor. Here we go, EXE with some thunders here. He's going to try to get some bombing done. Maybe take out some flashes in these bombing runs. Very nice, takes out a few there. And as soon as these Reapers make it to the front, I would say Rampage is going to be in a lot of trouble, because Reapers and Raiders are very effective against armies of flashes. There are some Panthers mixed in here as well, but again, Reapers also pretty good against Panthers if they can catch them. These Panthers going to attempt to run past everything and make it into the north of the map. But yeah, it does look like EXE is ready. EXE way ahead now. He's on 115 metal per second to his opponent's 55. Let's look at the bases here. Rampage still on T1 economy. I don't think he has any Moho metal extractors yet. His opponent also on T1, but he just has so much more of the map. I think that's where the economic disparity is coming into play here. EXE just having so much more of the map to his own, giving him a large economic lead over his opponent. Now going into advanced K-bots as well, and advanced aircraft plants. So yeah, EXE, a man of many talents, deciding to go into all the technologies, and certainly that is not a bad idea. The more technology you have access to, the greater the diversity of army composition you can build, and the harder it is for your opponent to deal with you, because every type of technology does give you certain advantages and certain units that will bring pain down upon your opponent. Here, for example, the Pyro is a fast-moving kind of raider K-bot, and they are very effective with their flamethrowers at breaking past opponent defenses and getting into the economic structure of their opponent's base, and just kind of wreaking havoc. Let's see what else the players are doing at home. Going for a second advanced K-bot lab. He may just want to go into mass pyro production. It's certainly not a bad option. And his opponent going for two advanced vehicle plants. So yeah, Rampage content to just stay on one type of technology here. He is going heavily into Panthers, but Panthers alone are probably not going to be enough to stop all of this. The Reapers are especially decent against Panthers. Pyro's not bad either, if they can get into range. And overall, EXE definitely ahead, I would say. Definitely coming out on top of his opponent here. He's got a raiding force coming down the east side of the map. And here in the west side of Rampage's base, he has another force. Rampage attempting to do a bit of a cheeky run by. into the west part of EXE's base with this army of mostly Panthers. What can they do? They are getting past the defenses a little bit, and they might be able to get something done. But in the meantime, EXE is now slowly moving into the heart of Rampage's base, and the truth be told, it may just be too little too late for Rampage, because despite this somewhat successful raid here, he is now under attack in his main base, losing precious economy here, losing wind generators, and EXE just seems to be collapsing in all around him, and Rampage, recognizing this, calls GG and taps out. I do have to say, great job there by both players, but EXE just having the superior rating in that game, a very effective early on. He had about 10 scouts, I think, that came through there, the Weasels, that somehow got past everything that Rampage had and took out quite a few metal extractors and, crucially, a few defenders as well, which allowed EXE's bomber then to come in and get even more economic harassment done. And that early game raid combination of land raiders and that bomber put Rampage so far behind, it feels like, that EXE was able to ultimately push his advantage, get an economic lead, and then get a tech lead, and then he was on so many different technologies at once that Rampage just began to crumble under the endless pressure that EXE applied. So great job there. The series is now 1-1. It has officially become a best of 5. Both players still need to win 3 games to claim victory of the losers finals here and to get that third place cash money. So great game there. Both games very well done. Both games very well played. And yeah, let's move on to game 3. Thank you for watching. Okay, here we have game 3 of the finals, the losers finals between EXE and Rampage. Here in the top left, the blue armed commander. So far in the tournament, it does seem as though EXE content to play core and Rampage content to play arm. Certainly both players can use either faction very well, but perhaps more comfortable with these factions. This map, Kappa, I have not casted before. I've never seen before. It does look to be a map on a gas planet, which was one of the biomes in the original TA universe. I don't know if it was added in core contingency or battle tactics, but either way, it does have these little kind of gas balls, these gas plants that you can reclaim for a quite impressive amount of energy. 580, 600, something like that. A veritable sun of energy you can reclaim these gas plants for. And both players going vehicle first in this game. Rampage making quite an army of Jeffies here. These are going to try to get some harassment done. But in the meantime, EXE building his own scouts to try to parry his opponent and probably get some economic harassment done of his own. This map mostly open. There are a lot of trees kind of in the way, so that will hinder the movement a little bit. But overall, it is a quite a flat map in terms of terrain. There isn't many obstacles. And this small contingent of Jeffies finally making it into the heart of EXE's base. But EXE ready for him. He has a light laser tower and he's got a lot of scouts. So, yeah, great defense there by EXE. Both players on a pretty even start, I would say. This game will probably progress into a more of a natural mid-game situation where the players begin producing their main battle tanks, the flashes and the instigators, and we will probably transition into more of a traditional vehicle versus vehicle mid-game scenario. EXE very likely to go air early on, but no, as I say that, he is going K-Bots second. K-Bot's decent on this map just because of all these trees. K-Bot's a little more maneuverable. They can stop and start much more quickly. They don't have to accelerate the way vehicles do. So in these situations with a lot of natural kind of blockage, you know, forest situation with a lot of trees and rocks in the way, K-Bots can perform better. Here we go, EXE with a few weasels getting by, taking out a metal extractor or two, but overall nothing too devastating there. And yeah, we're going to have to see what EXE can get done by going K-Bot second. He has built a few AKs. MAKs would be pretty good in this situation. This map, I think, does kind of lend itself to these close-range engagements just because of all of the foliage in the way, the forest, you know, not being able to see the forest for the trees. MAKs could be quite effective in these close-range situations where the units are more or less forced into these melee engagements with one another. That could be an option. Rampage still just on one vehicle plant, surprisingly. Certainly he could move into a second structure, and EXE deciding he didn't, in fact, want to go K-Bots. He does reclaim that and goes instead into air. So a curious choice there. We'll have to see what he wants to do with this shadow that he's building. I'm quite sure that that shadow will get something done. It doesn't look like Rampage has much air defense at all. I don't even see a defender anywhere. So this shadow, let's see if we can find it. Here it is. This shadow could be absolutely game-breaking. He does now build a single defender. He is now alerted to EXE's air presence, and EXE taking no prisoners. He's going to take out 2 metal spots at the very least. Rampage building a freedom fire to try to counter this, and overall, not EXE not getting too much done, but he does have a second bomber now coming in to the fray. And Rampage quickly erecting some defenders to thwart that. So great job there. And Rampage is going to bring down his own Thunder into the action here. He's going to take out 2 metal spots. Maybe 3. Yeah, he does get 3. He gets 4. Might get 5. So, very effective bombing run there by Rampage. Still flying around here. Still seeing what he can get done. 6 metal spots there. 7, 8. Wow, very effective bombing run here. And EXE will finally bring out an Avenger to ultimately clean this up. But that bomber got a metric ton done there. He took out probably at least 10 metal extractors. EXE will be able to rebuild these relatively quickly, and also on T2 as well. On advanced vehicle plants here, building some Wraiths. These are the kind of an upgraded Instigator, if you want to think of them that way. Rampage now built with a second bomber, taking out even more metal spots. And wow, very effective there. Very effective airplay. certainly getting a lot done. And with 2 more bombers as well on the way, and some javelins coming down through essentially the middle of the map into the northwestern portion of EXE's base. We'll have to see what he can get done with these. EXE ahead on tech. He is ahead of his opponent. He is on T2, but it does seem like in order to get to T2, he has stopped producing units almost completely. I don't see a single ground unit anywhere to stop this push of javelins, and this could be quite bad. Here we go. A couple more bombers flying in. Those will be quickly taken out by the Avengers, but these javelins might get a lot done. There's only this single Wraith to stop them, and the commander, of course. He could maybe get some D-guns, but the javelins will outrange the commander, and yeah, they are now kind of in EXE's base. They will almost certainly take out this advanced vehicle plant. The commander struggling to stop this deadly push of javelins, but could it be too little too late? Let's look at EXE's view here. His commander 1 hit from that earlier battle, and he will eventually tap out. So great job there by both players, but yeah, EXE, again, I would say teching to T2 too early. Yeah, teching to T2 too quickly can be quite deadly for you if you're. It was kind of a similar situation as the first game. Teching to T2 too early when your opponent is still producing mass T1 can create a vulnerability, create kind of a timing window in which your opponent exploits the fact that you've wasted all of your resources getting to the next tech level and thus have nothing to defend yourself with. So very good game there, and that will put Rampage up 2-1 over EXE, but this is a best of 7, so Rampage still needs to win 2 more games in order to claim victory, and EXE needs to win 3 more games. So very good game so far between the 2 players, and we are excited to move on to Game 4. Okay, this is Game 4 between Rampage and Executrix of the 3rd and 4th place finals of the Escalation Pro 2021 tournament. Here in the bottom right, we do have EXE, the red core commander going K-Bot first, and in the top left we have Rampage, the blue arm commander going economy first. He hasn't actually built anything yet. EXE just on a single solar collector here. So yeah, he's going to be struggling with power for sure. But he does have 3 AKs already heading towards his opponent's base, and Rampage, as I say that, going vehicle first. Rampage should have a much better energy situation because he did spend quite a bit more time building those wind generators, and is going to build a single defender here too to curtail any kind of air shenanigans that EXE will almost certainly pull out of his little hat of tricks. Rampage making the observation that wind has betrayed him. Yeah, on these air maps, on these maps with wind, that can happen. It is a fluctuation. The wind is not steady. Sometimes it will be a great source of power, and other times it may give you no power at all. But this map, Mossy Brick Road, kind of interesting. You have technically just this one passageway from east to west, but you do have this barricade of trees, this forest that you can burn down and create new passages into your opponent's side of the map. So we'll have to see if the players want to do that. Here in the west corner of the map, we have a group of AKs versus a respectable contingent here of Jeffies. And generally speaking, in equal numbers, AKs should beat Jeffies pretty easily. But it does look like there's way too many Jeffies here, and those will clean up that little group of AKs. No problem. Let's see what else the players are doing here. EXE sneaking a small group of AKs up here and kind of waiting for the opportune moment to bring those by. But as of now, both players just doing a little harassment. In fact, it seems to be only EXE trying to do the harassment. His opponent hasn't sent much of anything to his side of the map, but as I say that, a small group of Jeffies now making their way onto the east side, but these will be met and countered by a contingent of AKs that were just waiting for that scenario to occur. Now, javelins, which are an escalation exclusive vehicle, are very strong against AKs. I want to say each shot will instantly kill an AK, or at the very least get them quite low health. So javelin's a very good counter. If they can get in range of these AKs, they should quite easily tear them apart. And yeah, we can see that right here. Those javelins just going to shred through those AKs as if they are nothing. In the meantime, EXE going to start burning down this forest. Smokey the Bear, very upset with you, EXE. That's quite a forest fire you have started here. And he is going to make a path through this forest into his opponent's base. In the meantime, Rampage bringing a bomber through. He got a single metal extractor there. And he's going to take out 2, 3, almost 4. Here in his base, EXE does have some pulverizers waiting. So it looked like Rampage still got about 5 metal spots there with that successful bombing run. And that is going to even out the game a little bit, but EXE is still ahead on metal, it seems. And Rampage doing some reclaiming. But both players actually very even in terms of economy at this point in the game, I think. Rampage going to tech to T2. He's got 1 vehicle plant, 1 aircraft plant, and going into advanced vehicles. His opponent on 1 K-Bot lab, 1 aircraft plant, and you know, I suspect that EXE is doing something else, but perhaps just not doing it in his base. Certainly you would expect the players to, at this point in the game, perhaps tech up to the next tier of technology. Here we have a upgraded geothermal power plant, the ARM version, which will slowly take out these trees, just kind of creating a path onto the east side of the map. But in the meantime, EXE with quite a respectable force of crashers and storms, and these should This should be quite a formidable army for Rampage to deal with, but Rampage now on T2. That's a little scary. EXE also getting to T2. He is a little behind his opponent, but it shouldn't be too far behind. He is almost finished. He just now completes this advanced K-Bot lab. And as he does that, he sends this moderate-sized army of Storms, AKs, and Crashers at his opponent's base. Rampage smartly retreating his little army of Javelins there. And on the east side, sending a smaller contingent, a raiding party of Javelins into EXE's base to take out some metal extractors. Here comes that fight on the west side of the map, but Rampage now bringing in Panthers, and these T2 lightning tanks should quite easily clean up this force with the assistance of the Javelins, if the Javelins can catch up. But yeah, those Panthers certainly making the difference in that fight, and so that will be successfully cleaned up. But here on the east side, that small raiding force of Javelins, you know, getting something done, taking out quite a few metal extractors there. So overall, great job by Rampage defending EXE's attack, and also getting his own raiding done in the meantime, so that will even out the economies. Both players at about 60 metal per second, it seems. Rampage maybe with a little less, but not a huge advantage either way. Here in the middle we have EXE on Pyros. Pyros will be very effective against Rampage's combination of units, his composition, if he can get them in range. Pyro's relatively short-range units. They need to get in range to use their flamethrowers to full effectiveness. In the meantime, EXE building a wall of defenders there, pulverizers, to protect against any kind of aerial threat, and to offer some defense against these Panthers as well if they break through. So we'll have to see if Rampage can make it into EXE's base. He has made it through the trees, and now he will walk into this line of pulverizers. But yeah, in TA escalation, these have been nerfed quite substantially, so these Panthers have no problem tearing down that wall of pulverizers. And in the meantime, EXE pushing through the middle of the map with this combination of Pyros and Dominators. Now, Dominators in TA escalation are a little different than they are in the original game. They can still do the vertical firing launch. They can still shoot their missiles into the sky, but they also have a forward firing capability, which is much more suited to direct combat engagements like this, that allow them to pick off enemy units at quite an impressive range. But Rampage also doing a little raid at the top here with Panthers. And again, these should quite easily tear through all these pulverizers without almost any problem. At the bottom, a battle between Pyros and Panthers. And pretty close battle. I think both players coming out about equal in that engagement. But this force of Panthers and Dominators still slowly moving down the left side of the map, and they are going to break through these trees. And if they can get through, they should almost certainly be able to take out this Geo, should EXE decide to focus it. Yeah, he's just going to melt it down very quickly with those Pyros, and that Geo is gone. It is deleted from the game. In the meantime, it does look like that raiding force of Panthers in the northeast did get quite a bit done. Let's see, 3 metal extractors there, 3 there, 3 more here. And maybe even these in the back. So very effective raid by Panthers. They're still going. They're still taking up metal spots everywhere. So Panthers, very hard to stop for Pyros because they are fast and they outrange the Pyros. And so Rampage having some very effective raids on his opponent's base. But here we go. EXE just sending in a scouting group here to kind of see what's going on in his opponent's base. Scouting is very important in TA escalation. There is a saying that knowing is half the battle, and that is certainly true. Having good intel on what your opponent is doing can almost certainly make the difference between victory and defeat. EXE now on cans. The can is a slow-moving T2 core K-bot. They, however, are extremely powerful, and they will clean up these Panthers with ease. The Panthers would do well to just avoid the cans completely because the cans just have way too much health and do way too much damage for the Panthers to deal with. So, yeah, Rampage is going to try to avoid those, but the cans have a significant range. They should be able to outrange those Panthers. And so, yeah, cans, very strong. As their name implies, they are slow-moving tanks that just kind of eat through anything that walks into their decent range of green lasers. But in the meantime, EXE has brought a raiding force of Pyros through. He will take out 2 geothermal power plants. Very effective raiding party there. He might even get a 3rd one. But there is a recently completed Sentinel here, and that should clean this up. Eventually, at the very least, this Geo should survive. But, yeah, great raiding engagement there by this Pyro. Another Pyro killed this little base here. And back at home, it does look like some Panthers doing their own raiding at the northeast corner of EXE's base. So both players doing a great job of harassing their opponents, curtailing their economy, keeping them on their toes. Very close game, I think, right now. Both players pretty even. EXE ahead simply because I think of all these Moho extractors. He's got 10. All of his metal spots at this point that he has are basically Mohos. And his opponent, Rampage, however, has some Mohos, but only a few compared to EXE. So EXE is about 20 metal ahead. And these cans finally making it to the west corner of the map. As I said before, cans are relatively slow, but also extremely effective. And Rampage with an Atlas, a transport, he's wanting to do some kind of drop. I don't know what's in there, but we'll never find out because EXE was patrolling that area with Avengers, and those Avengers were not going to let that drop happen. So very well done there by EXE to prevent whatever kind of nastiness was in that transport. And Bulldogs against cans. Bulldogs should be a little stronger. I think they outrange the cans. Not the best matchup, certainly. And also we have some Mavericks here. Mavericks should outrange Pyros, but they will have to kite them. And these Pyros are very fast. They are going to take out this Geo and try to get something done. But man, Mavericks have a huge DPS, and they are going to melt these Pyros down. They are going to gunsling these Pyros into dust. On the southern corner of the map, though, EXE defending his base, sending some Pyros through down here to push away this army of Panthers. And, yeah, as I said before, if the Panthers can get into range, if the Pyros can get into range of the Panthers, they will almost certainly win the battle. But the issue is much more that the Panthers are fast and they have a long range. They don't have a long range, but they outrange the Pyros. So it really does come down to a micro engagement. Which players can handle their units more effectively. Here on the northeast corner of the map, a group of Avengers targeting down this Maverick, and Rampage bringing in his own freedom fighters to try to put a stop to that. In the middle, we have Bulldogs versus Dominators. Dominators outrange Bulldogs by quite a distance, but the Bulldogs will be faster. Here in the top left, we have this group of cans, and these will be quite difficult to stop. They are heavily armored, and they do an immense amount of damage, breaking them into two groups to make it more difficult for Rampage to stop, and doing some decent economic harm to his base, taking out quite a few Mohos. Does look like a single Maverick making it back here, but those will be stopped by the Immolators. And as I've said in previous casts, the Immolator, a T2 core only kind of medium range flame defense that are very, very good against those shorter range units like Mavericks. They will simply flame them into oblivion. Not with verbal abuse, but instead with extremely powerful jets of fire that will slowly but surely melt anything that comes into their quite considerable range into a metal paste. So, yeah, here we have a small group of Bulldogs making it down the east side, but these will be cleaned up. And in the west, a scary contingent of Dominators. As I have mentioned before, Dominators have been buffed quite a bit in escalation. They have these forward-firing rockets now. They can shoot in a direct manner straight at their opponent, which makes them much more viable in combat situations. In the original game, Dominators could only fire vertically, and their weapons did not home in, so they were really only good against buildings. In this mod, however, they are quite effective combatants as well, and if they can keep their opponent at a range, they will almost certainly win almost any engagement. Very few units outrange them, especially at T2. There's only a handful of things that can outrange these Dominators, and so these are quite a formidable force to deal with indeed. Let's see. Here at the top, a few Mavericks and a Bulldog. Let's see what the players are doing back at their base. EXE not skimping on the air defense. He's got quite a few pulverizers. He's ready for any kind of bombing run or gunship shenanigans that his opponent might throw at him. Here comes that raiding force. But I don't think it's enough to get much done. EXE certainly ready for this. Mavericks are pretty good against Pyros. But we have in the back a few Vipers and an Immolator and a Lacerator that are going to easily clean this up. But in the meantime, Rampage is sending down another raiding force to the south of the map. A combination of Panthers, Spiders, Mavericks, and Bulldogs, and but these will also run into some Vipers. The Vipers, the heavy core T2 laser defense. These are they kind of have a little silo that they go down into, and then they will pop up when a unit enters into their range. Rampage deciding to deal with these Dominators by building a small contingent of Phoenixes, and these will slowly but surely deal with the Dominators. As I mentioned before, Dominators difficult to deal with on a ground level, but a good way to handle them is to use bombers instead, and so that is what Rampage has done. And the only problem is EXE pulling way ahead on economy. As you can see here, he has just taken over his portion of the map with Moho metal extractors galore. There are too many to count, but he is now producing 166 metal per second to his opponent's 80, so he is way ahead economically. His war machine now pumping units out at full speed. Rampage going to struggle to keep up. He just doesn't have the same level of production. He doesn't have the same economy as his opponent. Zeus's are pretty good against Pyros in equal numbers, but the question is Rampage just going to get overwhelmed? EXE at this point producing so much metal that it feels like he may create just an unstoppable force, and Rampage recognizing this, saying in the chat that he's so far behind on metal that EXE almost certainly going to win. But I don't know. I don't think he should have conceded there. That was a little bit of in bad form, in my opinion. I think they could have played it out at the very least. Who knows? You can always snipe the commander and win, right? You can always do a well-placed raid or bombing run or nuke or Big Bertha, whatever it is. You know, that's one really interesting thing about Total Annihilation as compared to another RTS like StarCraft or Age of Empires. In those games, you have to basically defeat your opponent's entire base. You have to kill everything. In this game, you only have to kill the commander. So the game is never truly over until it's over. Certainly, Rampage could have done some kind of cheeky snipe attempt, but yeah, EXE definitely pulling way far ahead there economically, and Rampage recognizing that decides not to pursue the game any further. But either way, the games now, we are now on 2-2. Each player needs to win 2 games to advance, to claim the victory, claim third place. So this has now become a best of 3. Very great series so far, and both players doing a really good job in their respective games. So on to Game 5, guys. Okay, this is Game 5 of Rampage. Here on the west, the blue ARM commander going K-Bot first, and EXE here on the top right going ARM, the red commander, K-Bot first. This may be the first game of this series that EXE has gone ARM. I'm not sure why he did that. He may prefer ARM on this map in particular. Maybe there's something that ARM does that that he likes on this map. It's kind of hard to say. Or maybe he just wants to mix it up. That's always a possibility too. This map, very interesting design. I do, as I said in the cast with Postal, the second game between Herald and Combat Disc was on this map as well. And I do like the design of this map. It is connected by a land bridge, but it does essentially mean going the long way around. The quickest way to your opponent's base is a straight line, and you can build hovercraft to kind of cut that distance in half, or you can build air transports, or you can go naval and build naval transports. So overall, tons of options for the players on this map. That's part of why I like it so much. It does give you quite a few possibilities. I think Combat Disc in his game against Harold on this map went aircraft first, which is an option because the distance between the two players is so large. Going aircraft first can be a strategy, but EXE content to go aircraft second. And aircraft second, still very strong, especially if he does some effective bombing with this Thunder. And we'll have to see what he wants to get done here. This Thunder coming down. Yeah, he finds one metal spot. He's got a second one there, a third one. And overall, Rampage didn't have much prepared for this. He does have the single defender back at his starting base. But that Thunder did get about 5 metal extractors without losing any health. In the meantime, Rampage doing his own bombing run of EXE's base, and it doesn't look like EXE has much to stop that either. So both players getting some economic harassment done with these bombers. It does look like EXE has finally built a freedom fighter, and that Geo, I mean, it is on a sliver of health. If he had lost that, that would have been a huge economic blow, but he will repair that up and probably rebuild this energy storage. So I have to say, very, very close there. If Rampage had taken out that Geo, that could have just won him the game right there. It would have likely put EXE so far behind because it would have also taken out the energy storage and kind of everything around here. May not have killed the K-Bot lab, but it would have probably gotten it low. So very close, but good job for EXE to push off that attack as well. And now we will transition into more of a traditional mid-game, I should think. Yeah, I was about to bring up hovercrafts. I was going to say that it would be quite surprising if either player did not go hovercraft in this game. It is just a very effective option for closing the distance between the two bases. As we all know, hovercraft can traverse the water as well as the land. Here we go, EXE coming in for a second bombing run, and he is going to get that Geo. That is devastating, as I mentioned earlier. Geo's not cheap. They take quite a bit of time to build, and that should put EXE ahead for now. At the very least, we can see just looking at the economy stats. EXE now making over twice as much energy as his opponent. So yeah, taking out that Geo, a huge deal at this point in the game. Certainly it has put him ahead. Both players on hovercraft now. Rampage sending through a small force of Peewees at the southeast here. But EXE doing a great job with those freedom fighters to slowly clean those up. And in the middle we have a battle of Swatters. Swatters are the ARM anti-air hovercraft. They shoot homing missiles that are designed specifically for air, but they can target ground. They just don't do that much damage, as you can see here. These Swatters are going to kind of take forever to kill each other. So I'm not sure why both players going Swatters, except that maybe they just want to have aerial control. Both players vying for aerial dominance here at the southeast of the map. Rampage moving north with a small contingent of Peewees. And again, EXE will probably fend these off with Freedom Fighters. And in the meantime, Rampage sending some skimmers to his opponent's island. And skimmers, the scout hovercraft, they don't do much damage, but they are good for getting some raiding done. He does seem to have brought them, though, into maybe the worst part of his opponent's entire base to breach the land, because the commander was just waiting there with D-guns to stop that push. And these swatters are going to be cleaned up as well. So, you know, EXE, the first player to go naval here, as I've mentioned earlier in this cast, naval does tend to poop on hovercraft. It's just much stronger in the water. And so EXE going naval here, building a few destroyers, should give him the advantage in this water battle. And now this Crusader coming on to Rampage's coastline. Rampage attempting to go naval himself, but it may be too little too late, because EXE now in firm control of the water here. And he is going to assert that control by moving to the shore of his opponent's island. And this Crusader, very scary. It can outrange the commander, outrange the D-gun, as you can see there. Rampage attempting a D-gun, but no, those Crusaders have quite an effective range. Rampage once again attempting to build a shipyard, but is it too late? Yes, Rampage going to he's going to GG here, and we can just see EXE by taking out that geo earlier, and then by claiming dominance of the seas with his shipyard, did very much take over that game. As I've said in previous casts, ships really do rule the sea and escalation, as they should, and hovercraft are just kind of struggle against them. So I think EXE definitely showing us that in this game, and we'll have to see if he can win. He just needs now one more game to win. EXE up 3 games to Rampage's 2. So EXE on game point, and Rampage needs to fight to get back into this tournament. So we will have to see which player can claim the victory in game 6. Okay, this is game 6 between EXE and Rampage. Rampage starting core this time, so the players have now swapped. Rampage going the blue core commander vehicle first. And at the bottom left, EXE going arm, K-Bot first in the red. And EXE is on game point here. He is up 3 games to 2. He just needs one more to take the victory. This map, very similar to maps that we've casted in the past. There is this one land bridge connecting the 2 bases with a couple islands on each side. And those islands are very mineral dense. They do have some geospots. So the players almost certainly want to control the middle, but also control the sides as well to give them an economic advantage over their opponent. EXE has built some defenders here, and these defenders should protect him against any raiding of weasels here. Yeah, Rampage's weasel's not going to get much done. But as I said, EXE certainly ahead in this series. He just needs one more game to win. And Rampage is going to have to try to crawl back into this tournament. if he can, to claim third place. So at the start here, both players not doing anything too out of the ordinary. EXE now going aircraft second, as he so often loves to do. And Rampage still just on his single vehicle plant, but working on a Geo here. Geo, a massive power source, 300 energy, that he's going to upgrade as well. Geo at the front here with the upgraded riot cannon should push away any kind of threat, any kind of T1 threat at least that walks into its considerable range. So yeah, we will have to see what EXE wants to do to try to break this fortress. It does seem like Rampage very well prepared for an attack. And he's even got some levelers here. The core riot tank that will absolutely decimate these peewees in large numbers. No problem. So he should be prepared for any kind of raid onto his high ground. The question is, can he take the low ground? His opponent EXE has already kind of fanned out onto the north side of his base. He is now off of his little fortress area and building metal extractors down at the bottom like mad. A single leveler coming through here, through the middle of the map and into the southern west portion. And may walk into some metal extractors there, but in the meantime we have a few freedom fighters and more levelers following behind. So these levelers, again, very strong against T1, but there's no air defense here, and so EXE may be able to clean up this entire army with just freedom fighters. Now, of course, the freedom fighters have been nerfed from their original TA incarnation. They don't do nearly as much damage against ground, but over time, they will eventually slightly kill ground units. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. EXE showing great control here with these fighters, and these levelers gonna be cleaned up. And unless Rampage brings some kind of air defense, wow, EXE controlling these fighters very well. Not only are they stopping this push, essentially single-handedly, but they're also taking out Rampage's air constructors that he finds around the map. And yeah, great control here. Rampage really needing to build some kind of air defense. He is doing that now. These Manticores, the T2 hybrid skirmish battle tank. These things very good against both air and land. And EXE going to clean up this little western base as well that Rampage was working on. So yeah, EXE establishing aerial dominance in this game, sending a scout forward to see what his opponent's doing. But I've said all throughout this tournament the importance of having aerial control in escalation. It's just so important to establish that dominance and give yourself a leg up over your opponent. But Rampage now building some Manticores. These Manticores, the T2 hybrid missile tank, these are very strong against air. And I have to say that EXE is not going to be able to stop this force with just freedom fighters now. He's going to have to bring something else into it. But it's quite amusing to see that EXE has really built almost no land forces at all. He is now finally moving a group of Mavericks, it looks like, into these Atlas transports, and he is going to try a cheeky drop into his opponent's base. Mavericks, of course, being the ARM T2 gunslinging K-bots, and these things have a massive, kind of ungodly high DPS. So they are very good at raiding. He's going to drop these Mavericks off. Looks to be about a group of 5. And these things will chew through pulverizers as if they were nothing. EXE now moving into the production. Moving into the economy of his opponent's base, and he is going to run into a wall of Manticore. These Manticore can outrange Mavericks, which themselves are a bit of glass cannons. They don't have the most health, but they do a ton of damage if they can get into range. But those Manticores can easily outrange them and clean them up. And in the meantime, another group of Mavericks moving up the middle and taking out that Geo, which didn't look to be defended almost at all. EXE also with this little group of Zippers. Zippers, the T2 ARM raiding K-bot. They are very fast and they have a short-ranged EMG burst weapon. And they're designed almost exclusively for raiding. They're not really great in combat and they don't have much health, but they are good for getting around your opponent's defenses and getting into the heart of their base and taking out some of their economy and production. So yeah, he's going to want to avoid combat with these Zippers. And Mavericks a little more suited to combat, but against Reapers they may struggle, but they are faster and they are going to kind of walk around these Reapers. Luckily this Viper will clean them up, and I am inclined to think that these Zippers will be thwarted by this riot cannon on the geothermal power plant. Both players still battling for aerial dominance, but EXE pulling out ahead and establishing 2 fire bases up there, here and here. And with a bomber campaign on the way. I don't know how many bombers this is, but it looks to be at least 20. And that is quite an impressive army of bombers. Let's slow it down here. Yeah, bombers very quickly chew through anything that they land their payload on. And certainly going to take out this Geo, no problem. And they might even get the advanced vehicle plant. Oh my god. And the aircraft plant. They don't quite get that. But they do take out all of these windmills, look to be gone. And they take out some power as well. And the truth is, there's just way too many. This is the benefit of having aerial superiority in escalation. You can just commit these massive bombing campaigns over your opponent's base and outright win the game off of them. Here goes that aircraft plant as well. And he's going to take out some more wind generators here. These Avengers desperately trying to stop this bombing run, but they are just... There was just so many bombers there. It will finally be cleaned up, but at what cost? He has lost almost everything. He is no longer on T2. He's lost his own aircraft plant. He's lost his Geo. He's lost a ton of his energy production. Yeah, it is not, I think, a stretch to say that Rampage is now very far behind. That was an incredibly effective bombing run. A single flat cannon could have certainly curtailed that. It could have caused that run to be much less effective. Flax, of course, an anti-air defense, which hits in a large AoE and can effectively stop those massive aerial raiding campaigns in their tracks. But he didn't have any Flax. He only had some pulverizers and some Avengers, and that just wasn't enough to prevent those bombers from simply demolishing his base in a very impressive way. He has now rebuilt the advanced vehicle plant, and he is going to try to get back into this game, but the question is he too far behind now? That was really impressive airplay by EXE, establishing dominance and also showing us all why having aerial control is such an important component of these pro duels. Here we have some Fidos against Reapers. Fido's the ARM T2 artillery bot, if you want to think of them that way. They fire a kind of endless volley of shells here, a cacophony of bullets, as I've called them, and at a pretty good distance. And they are quite difficult to stop once you get them in mass. They handle T1 very well, and they chew through any kind of structural building, and they can also outrange many things. Certainly they could outrange these Reapers, I should think. And it's not looking so good for Rampage. That bombing run certainly put him behind. And EXE doing a very good job of controlling the skies first. As you guys saw throughout this particular game, he was moving his freedom fighters to get that air control, taking out any groups of Avengers that he could see to make sure that he had control of the skies. And then once he established control, he used it. He got himself way ahead, and then committed that run of 20 or so bombers into the heart of Rampage's base, dealing devastating economic damage and crippling his opponent. So now the question is, can Rampage come back into this game? Certainly he's trying, building some pulverizers to prevent that from happening again. But I don't know how much EXE is going to commit into another bombing run. Certainly that's an option. He is still pumping out those T1 bombers, but he's on T2 air now. And that is going to give him even more and even more powerful options in terms of his aerial control. Phoenixes would be good, I think. Phoenix, the T2 ARM bomber, quite a bit more powerful even than Thunders, and we have already seen how strong those can be. So Brawler's also an option. Brawler's very good for harassment and for taking out your opponent's army. And also, there's other options he can do as well. Plenty of aircraft that he could build to continue to apply pressure to his opponent. Rampage looking to defense up here, building a Punisher at the front of his base to try to push back any attack, but I don't know if it's going to be up in time. Yeah, Rampage now saying help in chat, but there is no one to help him. Nobody is coming. There will be no Deus Ex Machinas today, because it is just this duel. They are in the cage together, and they will have to fight it out on their own merits. As I said before, these Fidos should outrange the Reapers and the Bulldogs to tank. I do think that EXE has a slightly better composition here, but there are a lot of Reapers, and EXE kind of running out of room to run. So he's going to get pushed into a corner here, and we'll have to see if these Fidos can come out on top. Certainly once the Reapers get into range, they'll do a good job, but it is hard to say who will come out on top. But as I say that, Rampage bringing in more Reapers, so that should easily clean that up. And yeah, overall now it does look like EXE on a Bulldog and Fido composition with some Samsons mixed in to the army. And Rampage struggling to hold on for dear life, building some Goliaths. Goliaths are very expensive, but also very strong, the ultra-heavy assault tanks. And these should be very effective against EXE's current composition. Yeah, here in the middle, EXE doing another push of Bulldogs and Fidos into this Reaper line. But in the back line, he does have some Punishers waiting and a Toaster in the making. In the meantime, EXE looking to do another bombing run into his opponent's base. So we will try to keep our eyes on all of the action happening. Right now, just a battle between Bulldogs, Fidos, and Reapers in the middle. And the Goliaths now making it to the front line. As I said before, these will be very effective at stopping this particular push. But in the meantime, EXE coming through with his massive armada of bombers. And what can he get done this time? He's going to take out, almost take out that advanced vehicle plant. Very close. Takes out some windmills. And wow, that was close. Let's see. That thing survived. That vehicle plant, I think. Let's see how much health it has. I think they might have repaired it already, but it got it super low. And in the middle, this battle continuing to happen. But as I said before, these Goliaths will eventually push back this army. Goliaths very good against Bulldogs and Fidos. They have a good range, and they do a ton of damage, and they are very, very damn hard to kill. So, yeah, it does look as though Rampage is he is going to build a ton of defense here. He's got 3 Punishers and a Toaster, building a 4th Punisher, and that is going to make it extremely hard to push into his base. So we'll have to see what EXE wants to do to crack open this particular chestnut. He is now building T3 K-Bot. That is one possibility to break through here. But he also has this large fleet of bombers, a mixture of Thunders and Phoenix, that look to be targeting these Punishers and Toasters in the front. He wants to take out this defense to allow him to push into his opponent's base, and he's doing a decent job of it. Also moving into his opponent's base, taking out that advanced vehicle plant now. Taking out, oh, it looks like he's taken out just about everything. Taking out Moho metal extractors. Taking out production. Taking out constructors. Does the bombing run ever actually end? Very effective there. He just did so much damage to his opponent. And he will now push through the middle simultaneously. EXE, just an absolute monster. He is pressuring his opponent with these constant bombing raids while pushing through the middle, attacking on multiple fronts at once. And even these Goliaths might be hard-pressed to stop what is coming into Rampage's base. This combination of Bulldogs, Fidos, Zeus's, and Spiders should be enough to break through. I think there's just not enough Goliaths and Punishers in the world, and Rampage now recognizing that it is over. So wow, I have to say, in that last game, EXE showing an absolutely dominant performance. Yeah, the games between those two had been close up to the 6th game, but in the 6th game, EXE was in the zone. He popped open a can, whatever it is. He unleashed the beast, and that game was just a dominant performance from beginning to end. It's hard to even explain how why his play was so dominant there. But for example, using freedom fighters to push back the levelers allowed him to basically build no land. He was building no land for a good 5-10 minutes there, just using his air dominance to push back any kind of aggression that Rampage was sending. And then that allowed him to build a massive air force, that those 20 bombers that he sent. The reason he could build so many bombers was because he had invested most of his resources into those. So that allowed him to get this massive aerial dominance over his opponent and then do that extremely successful early bombing run, which put Rampage behind and then allowed him to transition into more of a ground-based game, but then still building further massive bombing campaigns onto his opponent, just and taking over the entire map as well. So extremely dominant play there by EXE. That was just scary to watch. Yeah, so great games between those two. EXE does claim third place over Rampage. And guys, this has been very fun to cast. The finals are going to be a co-cast between Postal and I. We are still working on that. It's taking a while. It's difficult to sync up our schedules, but we will slowly but surely get through those games together. And after that, we will have casted pretty much the entire tournament from round 2 on. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Certainly I have enjoyed it. This has been a ton of fun to do, and I'm glad you guys have been watching my games as well. But overall, great series between EXE and Rampage, and yeah, thank you for watching.